Small and tough, the Suzuki Jimny is an ultra-compact 4x4 with genuine character. It's feeling its age in terms of ride, handling and refinement, but it's hard to grumble at the prices being asked. Although running costs are quite high, the Jimny is still just about the cheapest viable off-roader on the market. Small cars are where it's at just at present. Super Mini sales are buoyant, but it's tiny city cars and compact 4x4s that are really attracting the attention of buyers, all of which would seem to promise a bright future to a car that can claim to satisfy the needs of both sectors of the market, a car like Suzuki's Jimny. Here on the face of things is a real alternative to that little hatchback you were going to buy. A vehicle that can fit into the tightest space. It's only 5mm longer than a Ford Ka. A vehicle that's cheap to buy and run, yet a vehicle that can hold its own off-road and give you that commanding over-the-hedgerow driving position you've always wanted. In town, that high seating position and excellent all-round visibility make it great for nipping in and out of traffic. The 1.3 litre all-aluminium 16-valve engine is in its element too. Out on the open road, however, that unit can sound a little stretched, due mostly to the fact that most of its 85 braked horses don't really come on stream until you get the engine singing right up to its 6,000 RPM maximum. Handling around twisty tarmac is not as accomplished as you'd find with the sharpest handling Super Minis, but it's quite good enough for most. Besides, there's always the bonus denied to conventional road users that when the fancy takes you, the rough stuff beckons. Now, four-wheel drive is selectable through Suzuki's Drive Select system, a surprisingly painless operation that can be accomplished whilst on the move. Over reasonably rough terrain, the little Suzuki inspires confidence, thanks mainly to its ladder frame chassis, which is a design feature that many small off-roaders lack, rendering them almost completely useless for real off-road work. You'll have to accept, though, that the little Suzuki ultimately doesn't have the wherewithal to reach places that larger off-roaders can. One drawback of all this off-road prowess is that it necessitates a harder, more jiggly ride. Now again, that's not something that should bother you too much on shorter journeys, where the light steering, progressive brakes and smooth gear change make this little Suzuki easy to live with. At first glance, this little Suzuki appears to have been designed more for the mud than the metropolis. The flared wheel arches, the bulky side panels, the roof rails and the spare wheel on the tailgate, all intended to reflect a rugged personality. Underneath all that, though, it's surprisingly car-like. Instead of the garden shed aerodynamics favoured by most off-roaders, you've got a drag coefficient that's comparable to a normal family hatchback. The cabin, though dominated by grey plastic, is equally user-friendly, with a neat, simple layout that will confuse nobody used to operating a payphone. It's also very accommodating, with space for anyone up to a 6-footer and plenty of head and legroom. Prices start from just under £10,000, strong value then. Though there's not a huge amount of space back here, what there is, as you can see, reasonably versatile. There's decent levels of equipment too. The standard GLX trim level gives you power-assisted steering, front electric windows, electric mirrors, a radio CD player. You get the selectable four-wheel drive system with high and low ratios and automatic freewheeling hubs, seatbelt pretensioners and driver and passenger front airbags. You can also, as I've done here, opt for a GLX Plus model, which improves the look of the Jimny with various styling accessories. The 1.3 litre petrol engine can only manage 38 miles per gallon. Now that's largely due to the weight of those 4x4 mechanicals, but also down to the fact that this engine isn't the most modern unit either. Emissions are correspondingly high at 174 grams per kilometre, and depreciation is reasonably hefty too, although owners can claw back some cash with relatively cheap Group 7 insurance. Suzuki's Jimny could be viewed as one of the most interesting budget small car choices on the market, or as a bargain basement off-roader. It will appeal to buyers of both persuasions because Despite being a little bit rough around the edges, it's got character and real ability, which is rare in cars costing twice as much. If you're really likely to use the car's off-roading ability, it makes far more sense than a traditional small hatchback, particularly as it can perform that role to a competent standard. Even if you're not, as long as space and pace don't rank as crucial virtues, the Jimny's well worth considering as something a little different.